Chapter 4 A New Companion. Out by the barn, Link was getting nervous. He never learned how to tame a horse, let alone ride one. They have many creatures in the forest, but horses are not on that list. It's not hard to ride a horse, right? While completely ignoring Link, Malon continued with what she was doing. Are you ready to become friends with Epona? Without waiting for an answer from Link, Malon opened her stall and let Epona out into the training area. Don't worry, it's not that hard to tame her, and riding a horse is as easy as walking. For hours, Link was wasting precious energy chasing the wild horse. His limit was drawing closer, and he was about to call it quits. How am I supposed to tame her if I can't catch her? Tips would be nice. I didn't tell you to chase her, silly. Then why'd you allow me to waste time running around? Because I like watching you run around. Malon finally caught up with the tired soon-to-be hero. Here, take this ocarina. I'll teach you a song that my mother taught me. It's Epona's favorite. The song was simple, but pleasing to any ear that had been lucky enough to pass through. If it wasn't for Malon speaking again, Link would have still been lost in the song. Any time you play that, Epona will come to you. Epona eventually acknowledged that Link knew the song and calmly trotted over to him. That's enough for today. You can learn how to ride tomorrow. Sorry for making you run around for nothing. At this point, the sun was setting, and the sound of Link's stomach filled the air as a clear sign that he was hungry. Malon, I'm back. A new voice could be heard off in the distance. Who is this that you brought home with you? Is he going to be your husband? Both Link and Malon blushed at the notion. Don't say such things, father. She was having trouble looking at Link directly. Her embarrassment was pretty obvious. Link, this is my father Talon. Link turned around to see a portly man with an oddly thick mustache that was somewhat disturbing. Nice to meet you. I'm Link. I come from Kokiri Forest. Link shook Talon's hand as he continued. I'm supposed to be this chosen hero destined to save Hyrule. You're the chosen hero? What do you think you'll be able to do to stop the darkness from spreading? Talon eyed Link as if he was studying him. Do you know where you need to go? What about the tools you'll need for your journey? Now he was circling Link, studying his physique and stature. Enough questions. Let's go inside and eat. Just as everyone headed inside, Link quickly turned towards the barn. What's wrong? Did you hear something? Malon's hand was gently touching his shoulder. Yeah, I could have sworn I heard some voices coming from behind your barn. It was probably the Cuckoos. Talon was already sitting at the table ready to eat. Come and sit so you can tell me your story before we eat. Because Malon was busy training Link on how to tame Epona, the table was bare. This allowed a little more time for Talon to hear the hero's tale. Not 5 seconds after Link sat down, a crash followed by the sound of the horse's neighing and horror could clearly be heard from where he had just heard voices. Link rushed upstairs to grab his Kokiri knife and, although useless, his rusted-out shield. He quickly made his way back down and rushed out the door. Outside, smoke could be seen billowing up from the burning barn. Luckily, all the horses were running, although frantically around the ranch. Moblins could be seen rummaging through the barn, but for what? Moblins are normally stupid creatures that only like to fight. What could they be searching for in a place like this? All questions aside, he drew his knife, ready to shield, and proceeded to battle the dim-witted creatures. There were only 5, but they seemed unusually strong. Not strong enough to defeat him, but still, something was off. With one last bash to the head with the shield, which then broke, and a quick stab to the side, the last enemy fell to the ground, and nothing but the roar of the fire could be heard. Luckily, as if by magic, clouds formed over the whole ranch with a roaring clash of thunder, and rain started pouring down. Both Malon and Talon stood there astonished. Talon was the first to break the silence. It seems you are indeed the chosen hero destined to free us from whoever or whatever has been plaguing these lands. All three just stood there in the rain for a bit, just staring at each other. Back inside, Malon couldn't keep her eyes off Link. He looked at her and saw her blush a little before looking away. So what do you reckon were those things looking for? Talon was now entering from the other room. We run a simple ranch. There's nothing of value to them here. Moblins are simple, yet vicious creatures. They follow the orders of whoever is stronger. For them to go against their nature and focus on searching for one item, the orders must be coming from someone with immense strength. Link was now looking at his battered shield. I hate to say this, but I need to return to the forest to consult in the great Deku Tree once more. Only he would have a clue as to who could be behind this. Tomorrow I will leave before sunrise. The father and his daughter both looked at Link and nodded in approval. That was the last word spoken that evening. All three walked upstairs and went to their separate ways. With all the pieces within my grasp, I can finally become king. Link, it's time to get up, sleepyhead. With a face full of hair, Link opened his eyes to the sight of Malon staring him straight in the face. The sun is about to rise. Can you help me with something before you head out? Link nodded his approval and slowly rolled off the bed. Give me a few minutes. With the approval she wanted, Malon turned and skipped out the door. Looking at his shield, Link was reminded of last night. How did he know how to fight so well? What was with the weird storm? What is with the visions? He hoped that he could get answers once he returned home. Downstairs, Malon was leaning against the front door, waiting patiently for him. So, what do you need help with? I just need help milking the cows. Plus, once you help me, I'll give you a couple bottles for your journey. With nothing else to speak about, they both headed outside. Although burned, the barn didn't look that bad. The horses returned to the stables themselves during the night, so that was one less thing Malon had to worry about. She led him to a mill hidden all the way at the back of the ranch. It was a small, run-down place, but it was still usable. Inside it looked as if the roof would collapse. Don't worry, it's been like that for years. It will hold, trust me. Link gave a concerned look, but considering that they wouldn't be long before he proceeded towards the cow in the corner. Seeing as how he was raised in the forest around animals, milking a cow should be a piece of cake, or so he thought. As soon as he touched the cow's udder, it went wild and knocked Link back a few feet. He looked up to see Malon trying to contain her composure. Why don't you go grab a few bottles from the crate while I take care of the milking process? Link grimaced at the fact that he, a child of the forest, couldn't milk a cow. Without uttering another word, he turned in shame and walked over to the giant crate. Inside, he noticed that all the bottles were filled. Where are the empty bottles? Without lifting her head, she pointed to the crate and simply said, "Behind." Now he had to pull this large and heavy crate to get to the other smaller crate just behind it. He felt he had to prove himself since he failed at his last task. With that in mind, he grabbed each side and began to pull. He pulled and he pulled until he was red in the face. Having trouble? I've got this. The crate then started moving. How do you get these on the cart? It's a secret. Besides, you moved the box all on your own. You proved yourself enough. Behind the large crate, just above the smaller one, Link saw something glimmering through a small hole. What's through this hole? It looks like something inside is glowing. Disregarding the glow as nothing, he opened the crate, grabbed a few bottles, and returned to the cow. The rest of the milking was uneventful. Well, that was until Talon crashed through the door. There's no time. You have to leave now. He was out of breath at this point. There's an army of those things coming this way. Without saying any goodbyes, Link grabbed 2 bottles, rounded up opponent, and left through the rear entrance. Just as Link reached the pathway, he heard Malon. Wait, don't forget your sword and shield. Thanks. The army had now entered the ranch. Without thinking, Link pulled Malon up onto Epona with him, and they galloped off. Make sure you take good care of. Talon's voice was drowned out by the screaming herd. Malon looked back in horror as she watched her father being surrounded. Don't worry, your father will be fine. Behind them, yet again, smoke could be seen billowing from the ranch. How do you know he'll be safe? Can you promise me that he will be unharmed? Epona stopped, and Link just stared into her eyes for a while before reassuring her that there was no need to worry. Yes, no harm will come to him. Whoever is behind this wants both of you to ask you where the item they are searching for is. They have reason to believe that you know where it is. Whatever it is obviously very dangerous, and we need to find it before they do. Questions can come later. I need to rearm myself first. He turned Epona around and quickly headed towards Castletown. In town, there were games and shops filled with all the necessary items for an adventurer. For now, the only things he could afford were either a new sword or shield, so no unnecessary spending. There were many blacksmiths, but most were too expensive. Don't go wandering off. This place is new to me, and I don't want to get lost. Malon just looked at him and shook her head. Turning a corner, they finally found a shop cheap enough for him. The door looked unkept, and the windows were dirty. Nevertheless, he needed to prepare himself. Who knows what has happened to the forest while he was gone? He needed to be able to help his home and protect Malon at the same time. They walked inside and found it to be even dirtier. Is this shop even open? Suddenly he heard some rustling, and a man as bulky as a Goron come through a doorway from behind the counter. Welcome to Hugo's shop. First-time adventurer's shop and blacksmith. How may I help you? It didn't take long for him to notice the sword and shield. You seem a little young to be a Highland soldier. I'm not. My equipment was left to me by my mother. The man's eyes went wide as if he had seen a ghost. You can't be. Are you by any chance Link? Link's head tilted a little, curious as to how this stranger knew him. Could he have known his parents? If so, would he be able to answer his question? It is you. My, have you grown. The last time I saw you, you were just born. Can you tell me more about that day? I want to know more about the day my mother and father died. Come, let's go into the back. Malon was hesitant at first, but eventually followed suit. All three sat at the table that sat in the back, but Hugo didn't even offer any drinks. Before I start, what I am about to tell you should in no way affect whatever mission you're on. Got it? Link nodded in agreement, and the man began to tell the tale of the last day of peace. Back before you were born, a man named Ganon came to Castletown looking for help. The king, goddess's soul, was generous and let him recover in the castle. I didn't trust that man. Nothing good can come of a man from the desert. Anyways, he became close to the king, and one day, an errand soldier returned from an errand that Ganon sent him on, and something was off. He looked battered and weak. He stopped in the middle of town and with his last breath screamed, "The darkness is coming. An army of vile creatures approaches." The next thing that happened is the reason you are here now. Your mother, Catherine, came to me for special order equipment. She originally intended to give you those when you were old enough to enter the academy. Not sure how your mother died, but she was perfectly fine when she left with you. Your father was James. He was a proud captain of the Hylian Guards. He was a great man. Sadly, he died in the first battle. He was a brave warrior. He was struck down while holding off those creatures while your mother escaped with you. The streets were filled with fire and dead bodies. Some say Ganon was behind the raid. He came out the hero, acting as if he was the one that drove them out. Because of that, he earned a seat next to the king. I find it odd how someone could do so much good in so little time. Anyways, not too long after they left, peace returned to Hyrule and everything seemed normal. Well, that was until Ganon just disappeared. Everyone acts as if he never existed. But how else could the war have happened? I can tell you got your love and kindness from your mother and courage from your father. They would have been so proud of the way you turned out. I will provide you with a new shield, but you'll need to find yourself a new sword. He reached behind him into a dusty old trunk and grabbed a new yet somehow clean shield. This is the same model as your old one, but lower quality, so you must be careful. Next time you're in town, stop by and I'll have a new one ready for you. Just then, Link's pendant started glowing, and Saria's screaming voice could be heard. Link, you must return. We need your help. We're under attack. We aren't strong enough to defend ourselves from these enemies. You must hurry. Just as quickly as it started, her voice stopped and silence filled the room. Malon was the first to speak up. What do you plan on doing now? Before Hugo could butt in, Link was nearly at the door. Wait up. Don't think about leaving me behind. All she could see was the mass of people yelling at Link for pushing them aside. Why are you in a hurry? She screamed and he turned, almost making her run into him. The Kokiri aren't built for heavy battle. They are forest folk. If we don't hurry, I fear my friends will be lost. Link turned and continued on towards Epona, who was tied up at the gate, waiting for their return. As quickly as they arrived, they were already speeding off to their next destination. Well, so much for Kakariko Village.